President Vladimir Putin is one of the non-Muslim leaders in the world who show the most respect for Islam and Muslims. Recently, at a ceremony honoring Russian soldiers, the Grand Mufti of Russia, Talgat Tadzuddin, had the opportunity to address President Putin and other distinguished guests present at the ceremony. What caught the attention of many was the way President Putin humbled himself and remained standing while the Mufti praised the name of Allah.
Шейх Уль-Ислам Талгат Сафа Таджуддин, Верховный Муфтий, председатель Центрального Духовного Управления мусульман России.
After praising Allah the Almighty, the Grand Mufti of Russia took the opportunity to condemn the injustices that have been inflicted on the Palestinian people for decades by the so-called Western powers, and then spoke about one of the fundamental principles of Islam, that no one in this world is able to do anything without the will of the Almighty Allah. And while he was saying this, President Putin, the guest of honor of the ceremony, remained standing, listening carefully to the powerful teachings of Islam.
Everyone has their own truth, but all of us, Christians, Muslims, Jews, and other religious traditions in Russia, adhere to the moral and spiritual values established by the Lord of our world. What has been happening in Palestine for years is outrageous, and one cannot find words to express it. Many people ask, will there be a third world war or an apocalypse? But as believers, we know well that the end of times is an individual experience. Parents, friends, and relatives pass every day to the next world. But the global apocalypse can only be the work of Allah, not the work of the collective West or the United States, no matter how arrogant they may be. Scientists talk about the expansion of the universe and one day collapsing, but everything is in the complete control of Allah. All the messengers of God, including the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, as long as there is even one person on earth who worships God sincerely and turns to Him, the apocalypse will not happen.
In fact, this is not the first time that President Putin shows respect for Islam. For example, in 2015, Putin condemned the publishing of cartoons that offend the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Insulting Prophet Muhammad doesn't count as the expression of artistic freedom. Russia was formed as a multinational and multi-confessional state, and we are used to basically treat each other's interests and traditions with respect. This is indeed a very powerful base of existence, a solid basis for the existence of Russia as a multinational state, he said. He subsequently banned the publishing of any cartoons depicting the Prophet and created an agency that works as a watchdog on Russian media to prevent any violation of the law. In 2023, after an Iraqi refugee seeking asylum in Sweden desecrated the Holy Quran, President Putin was among the first world leaders to strongly condemn the shameful act. If desecration of the Quran is not seen as a crime in some countries, it is penalized in Russia. In our country, this is a crime both according to the Constitution and the Penal Code. The Quran is sacred for Muslims and should be sacred for others, and we will always abide by these rules. President Putin declared as he received a copy of the Holy Quran from Russian Muslim community. Another thing that is known about Vladimir Putin regarding his respect for Islam is that he always keeps a copy of the Quran on his office desk and often reads verses in his meetings and conversations with Muslim leaders. He was even caught on camera kissing the Quran as a sign of respect for the holy book of Muslims. In 2015, at the opening of the Grand Mosque of Moscow, President Putin recognized the undisputable contributions of Russian Muslims in the development of Russia.
The traditions of enlightened Islam developed over many centuries in Russia. The fact that different peoples and religions live peacefully together in Russia is in large part thanks to the Muslim community, which has made a worthy contribution to preserving harmony in our society, and has always strived to build relations within and between religions based on tolerance for each other's faiths.
It should be noted that today Islam is the second largest religion in Russia, with approximately 26 million followers, or 15% of the total population, making Russia the country with the largest Muslim population in Europe. Today, Russia has more than 8,000 mosques, and throughout history Russia hasn't witnessed any major hostility with Islam, nor did it enter any religious conflicts. The Islamic republics that joined the Russian Federation preserved all their religious, cultural, and social rights. This explains President Putin's warm relations with the peoples of these republics and respect for their religions, especially since many of them have a long history with Islam. Thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum.